Dungeon
setup is going to
Doomhands,
be
Let's
dope.
Talk Lore,
So we'll have to
a
wait and see what happens
podcast.
with that. But welcome back to Let's Talk Lore. I'm Spencer, and this is Chris, and we're here to talk to you about shops
Markets.
and running markets in your D&D sessions. So one issue that I've been having with my sessions when it comes to markets is that I kind of don't plan them out. And I do everything like plan the city and have some encounters set up, but obviously there's going to be shops and whatnot, and a lot of the times the players like to go into the shops and I have nothing set up. And I find it sometimes a little bit overwhelming. So that's my issue. I think that some people can relate to, but what is your experience with like running a good shop versus like, meh? Unengaging shop. Like an engaging shop versus unengaging shop, because there's two ways to run it, and that's what I want to kind of get to the bottom of.
Well, I feel there's two separations of kinds of shops. One of you're just trying to get your basic supplies, all of your random stuff that you need, like Ignis the last session, just getting her arrows or random stuff that we needed from just being out in the wilderness for months on end. And then there's all the other cool, crazy stuff that you try and get, like magic items
Right.
or potions or anything like unique to the area. And something that I did, which I loved how it worked and when I ran Icespire Peak, any like basic stuff, anything that you'd find in the player's handbook, like your basic gear, going to go to a town or people want to buy stuff in a town, I'm like, all right, just send me a message with what you're buying and the price in the PHB, and that's what you're going to buy it for. Because if you want to roll a persuasion to try and haggle it, we can just short circuit that. Because a lot of the time, trying to negotiate and find a lantern or other stuff can really drag out a session. And
Right.
if people aren't trying to buy stuff, they just get bored and they start pulling out their phones and disengage.
Right. So one of the things that, yeah, exactly. So like I find that shops right now, the way I ran them, and I'm sure that it's going to change after this conversation, is how to make it more engaging. And I was doing, as I do in all these Let's Talk Lore sessions, I do a little research. I search and get some screenshots of what certain people suggest. And one guy, there is no screen name to honor him on the D&D on Reddit. It says deleted, but he said maybe you want to pick out what kind of shop it is. So, for example, is it are they food and consumables? Is it or are you going for liquor or food or food? Are you going for, is it more of a temple oriented? So you can sort of, it becomes overwhelming when people want a variety of different things, but you as a DM can limit it and say, okay, this shop that you're entering based on your description. Remember, you have to you should describe it, and I'm going to read one of these descriptions, which is pretty fun, a little bit later on. A blacksmith is going to have weapons and armor. Stables, you might find some sort of transport device or a horse. Fishermen, you'll have boats and stuff. Alchemist, don't just say, oh, you run into I did this a lot. Oh, you run into a guy and they have potions. Well, he's actually an alchemist, and he has a little bit of a backstory. Things like that can sort of narrow the scope and make you a little bit less overwhelmed if that's an issue. And it'll also let the player, maybe the players don't want to go in. You guys were in the Underdark, and just an example of this. There were many different shops. There's a big market. I didn't have a map or anything. We were just playing it in person, and or just we were all had our own mind's eye on the thing. And Aaron and I forgot who else didn't want to go into the shop because they already had XYZ. So they
Hmm.
decided to go to a different shop. So I like sometimes I put the shops together so that it gives them a little different interaction, but it also helps you world build. I don't know if you had any
Well,
recommendations for like, yeah,
I think it really depends on how much time you're wanting to invest in role playing shop.
right,
Because you can go and role play every interaction, buying every item, doing the haggle for everything, or you could make it quick. Um, so the thing that I love to do to try and limit the scale at which you're having to jump to all these different places, and this is something that I do that I did it in Icefire and I've done it since and I love it, is I have just like a running list of magic items or unique things that I'm willing to give out. And it doesn't have to be specific in a shop. It's if they're in a dungeon or a house or they're doing something cool and I'm like, what they're doing is sounds really cool and they're finding some weird cool path. Sure, let there be some random magic item, but instead of having it roll on a table, find the wand of wonder or something that can be fairly annoying in the game. I have like this running total of items that I think are useful for a couple party members or stuff that I think would be fun that isn't crazy. And if I'm having a shop, I'll say, all right, let me pick three things that I think they might buy, and then one like crazy thing. And I'll say we have, say the shop isn't doesn't have that much stuff, but that we have these couple unique things if you're interested. Or you scout around to all the different shops and you find a couple items. And if you want to haggle, negotiate, we can go into that a little more deeply about these certain items. But personally, I feel like there's the meme of I I waited all week to come sit down for my game when we spent 2.5 hours listening to someone RP buying something. So I think trying to get that window quicker, or not necessarily quicker, but that window of RP and downtime for the vast majority of the players, I think helps keep everyone engaged in the shopping.
I think yeah. So, but shopping has like a way of so for me recently it's been sort of like a we get inside the shop and I'm like okay, this is like a safe. It's almost like a long rest to me.
Yeah.
That feeling of like okay, yeah, I can let my guard down a little bit. I don't have to like be on top of the DMing, but you do. Because you are in a shop, and what do murder hobos like to do in the shop? Well, you do have to role play your. What I'm getting at is you do have to
Hmm.
role play and world build in your shop, and it's a good way to do
Yeah.
so. So one of the things that I was just researching and from suggestions was that your shop is not going to be. It's not very rarely are you going to walk into a shop like where you live in the real world, and you're going to be the only ones in there. You know,
Yeah.
but you don't have to necessarily interact with them, but it's a good place to overhear some things. You can overhear shopping for a weapon because of this sort of game hook, or
Yeah.
and also you don't have to be in everyone's face about world building and character building. The shop owner usually is sitting in the back of the shop and doesn't really, you know, if you're
Fair.
yeah, well, he cares, but he's there to answer questions. So, welcome to the shop of many things. Um, if you have look around, feel free to look around, and I'm here if you have any questions. And at that
Hmm.
point in time, your players will ask, "Do you have this?"
Yeah.
And then you've already made I guess your table, so you could have a table prepared for it and you go forward. We don't do a lot of like counting money and buying things, or one of the things I was reading about was items and objects for casting spells and whatnot. But like those are good places to obviously purchase them. But your shops don't have to necessarily be shops. You could have a trade shop where
Hmm.
you might have a crazy perception check where you find an awesome weird item that you don't know about that's very magical, or you could have a place where you build things. I don't know, or like an upgrade place. I'll come back
Yeah,
in a week or two or whatever.
yeah.
If you're
But it depends on also the flow of the game. If you just came
right,
from crazy fights and everything, then you need a couple sessions to slow it down a little, let
yeah,
people get recovered.
that's true.
Yeah,
Like right now,
and
you
I
guys have way. So if this is your first time tuning in, I DM the game that Chris is Agoth Doom-Man and the Skulls of Power. Chris is as a player, and you guys have way too many items. So the fact that I even offer you a shop,
you say you guys, you mean one character.
the collective whole has way too many items, even if it's just one guy. The collective whole, but I mean, trading is a good thing to help get rid of. But also, I just think that there's a good unique world building opportunity in shops, and there's like a couple different ways you could make the shops unique to the surroundings. So if you're in a shop in near the sea, maybe everything is has like shells or you could have it tailored towards the environment. Or maybe if you're in the shop in the woods,
Like
obviously,
like
yeah,
the music shop, you had the unique, all the instruments were made by the unique wood from the forest nearby.
right. And
So it's a
even
beautiful way of making that shop unique to this. So in my bag, it has that instrument, but also has a note of made from the unique redwood from around Trigard,
right.
which
And
is
so
awesome.
yeah, to reinforce your character, I mean your world building with different elements to it. It's like you could just for instance, I guess you could sort of have I guess you could have your items again tailored towards the environment. I guess another example would be, what would that environment, what does it lack? So like if you're in the desert, obviously a pouch of
Hmm.
water, a magical pouch of water, like that would be higher priced than,
Oh,
a
absolutely.
bag of sand. So having the different price spectrums based on your environment and what's important in those environments adds to the layer of engagement. So you don't
Mhm.
have to necessarily lose that engagement, all of the engagement when you go into shops. It's very
Yeah.
hard because it takes like 45 minutes sometimes to get through a shop, unless like one of the ways I do it is okay, I haven't done this, but like sometimes I feel like maybe I should just say here, this is what you can find there, and you can roll your perceptions. But then it's like everyone rolls a perception, and it
Well, I think we didn't spend that much time, I don't think, shopping
felt
last time.
well,
It
damn,
felt
well,
like
not
it
last
went
time,
smooth.
yeah,
Yeah.
but damn it, it can certainly feel
Well,
long.
also, it was nice that we were in a busy, crowded market so that everyone else couldn't murder the shopkeeper.
Yes.
It was nice to not have them actually listen to Stag and say, yes, secret murder this time.
Well, yes, you also want to have if they're expensive items, if you're in a shop, you're going to have security. So you should have,
Yeah.
or maybe you have your shops be anti-magic or whatever, or you have a trap set up for thieves. You can
If
certainly,
there's plenty, yeah, that's something that I've started trying to incorporate more is you're in a world with tons of magic. Of course, there's going to be protections from magic
of
and
course.
and if you can use magic, everyone else can use magic. So there's going to be magic protections and magic traps and magic everything protecting all their gear.
Yeah, I just
If you're
like
a shop and you have thousands of gold worth of items just sitting here, it's not going to be available. So someone just be like, yoink,
yeah, and
walk
then
away.
if it's getting like to the point where one person's not, I wouldn't say hogging the spotlight. Okay, what's over here and what's over here? You can just do a general, you don't have to have everyone do a passive you don't have to have everyone do a perception. You could have everyone just do a passive if there's no wonders item or anything like that. um
I think you do a really good job of noticing when someone isn't engaged and talking them into the story of, say, you notice one person isn't really actively engaged in the shopping, and you can be like, you're just wandering around the shelves and you spot this book. that you've been looking for. Give
Yeah.
them that little nugget in the shop as they're perusing, or you go to grab this one thing, or you know something's knocked over and you pick it up and a bookshelf opens.
Yeah, like another thing that I read that adds into this one. I didn't realize that I was doing some of that, but one of them said, have a chat, or you can do it pre session or post session. Hey guys, you're entering a city or whatever, or you're entering a town where there are going to be shops, there are going to be settlements and whatnot.
Mm.
Is there anything that you guys particularly would like to have? And why don't you give me,
Yeah.
over the next week or whatever it is till your next game, why don't you text me or email me or whatever it is, a list of 3 or 4 items or 5 items that you would like your character to come across, and then you cherry pick those. And then, if someone is not being very engaged, well, all of a sudden their character finds something glittery, and it turns out to be that, you know
Or
the toupee that you were looking for, or whatever.
or the old favorite of mine, give them a curse magic item something that they really want, but the curse doesn't catch on for about a week and a half.
Yes.
Let them fall in love with this new cool thing that they've always wanted. And then you have their own personal little story that you get to dive into.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like, yeah, after 3 uses,
You start hearing voices in your head.
or like it could just be ill. You just are ill, like
Yeah.
negative. You have disadvantage on all stealths because you're
It
coughing.
it creates its own little side quest
That's
that
hilarious.
they
Yeah,
get to solve.
shops are really, I think they're underutilized world building, game hook areas, and I'm going to start doing that more, because I feel like, not necessarily like you don't have to interact with every NPC. That would take way too long. But
Hmm.
you guys, if you don't interact with some NPCs in the shop, or you don't question the owner, maybe you
Hmm.
had it set up like, okay, the owner is going to say, welcome to the shop, please enjoy yourselves. And then based on what they buy, I was going to have them say something like, oh, you must be another one of these types of people that are trying to whatever slaughter the main villain or whatever. But let's say there's no interaction. Well,
Hmm.
maybe you just say, your passive perception, as you're purchasing these things, you overhear rumors of a dark
Yeah.
labyrinth somewhere, and blah 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 blah.
Well, you can be in like what you were saying, there's other people in the shop. There can be a couple people having a conversation the next aisle over, and you just
Yeah,
happen to hear
for sure. And like,
it. Hmm.
yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty good synopsis of like how I think shops should be run. We could certainly come back to this at another point in time, because I'm definitely going to run one like this later on, because I feel like that's, I haven't really thought of how my shops are a little bit quick. I feel like they force you out the door sometimes. I'm like, all right, let's go. Um, but maybe I don't need to do that by just incorporating a little bit of more of a game hooky
Hmm.
aspect, or maybe the guy just says, hey, I'm going to go on lunch now. Please leave and come back, and you know,
If you need anything, you can come back later
e-
after some random break that you make up.
yeah, and
After
like,
my siesta for 3 hours.
and remember, when I go into my 7-Eleven guy, I got a 7-Eleven right down the street over here. He knows me. He always asks me how I'm doing and whatnot. They're very engaging. So if you have a group of players that like that sort of engagement aspect of the NPC and role play stuff like that, hey, how are you? Haven't seen your kind so far. What can I do for you? What are you here for? What are you looking for? That type of thing. And maybe the
Yeah.
guy offers hints and stuff. So it's like there's a lot of
Mhm.
world building in the shop aspect that can be incorporated. That's my,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think you gave a perfect way to get the feel of it. Go into any shop and imagine that space in your game world.
yeah. I mean,
Like the characters are
thanks.
you walking into there and how it feels to walk in there. There are other people around. Maybe the shopkeeper is friendly, maybe the person's a jerk. But there are various shops, but get that feel. And that's all you really want is the feel of immersion.
Yeah, exactly. And if you see the players that are dying out and they're not engaged, let just you can always break character and say, hey, do you guys want to? You guys can also go out and
Do
you can
something else.
split the group too. It's not
Yeah.
certain, there's plenty of things to do. But
The last thing I had to add on this is Aranis needs to get some curse magic items. If
yes,
you
he
didn't get the hint
does.
there, I'm just gonna say plainly curse him a
Oh,
bit. I know he's not gonna watch this.
the hint was taken. Yeah, and I also forgot to say this at the very beginning. Roll high and subscribe. Hit that button. We'll be right back in a few moments for more Let's Talk Lore, where we're going to discuss Chris.
We're gonna discuss your bosses, your bad
Yes.
guys, how you like to run them.
Oh yeah. So stay put, and thanks for tuning in. Now, how the hell do I end this?
Perfect outro.
Outro.